Good afternoon, everybody. Delighted to see everybody here. Come on in, keep coming. My name is Catherine Carney, and I am the Senior Director for Customer Enablement, as well as the Databricks community. Delighted to have you here today.
Hello, I'm Milani, or Mel, and I head up the Asia Pacific enablement for Databricks, both internal enablement as well as customer and partner enablement. It is awesome to be here today. You're stuck with a South African accent and an Irish accent. So I hope you're going to cope with that today.
We have translations. We'll put them to the test today, for sure.
Awesome.
All right. Well, hopefully you're all in the right room. Who here knows everything there is to know about building a data and AI culture? Hands up. Great. You definitely are in the right room. Who's here to learn about a data and AI culture? Perfect. OK. Myself and Mel here are here to share some of our thoughts, observations, and learnings from listening to all of you, our customers, partners, and indeed, in the spirit of drinking your own champagne, what we've learned too. So what does a data and AI culture really mean? What does it mean for your organization? We think about the impact that having data and how it can enable you to make business decisions, and specifically data-driven business decisions. We'll go into a little bit more detail here. It allows you to gain insights into your business. The closer you are to your data, the quicker you can make decisions, and indeed, the chances are that those decisions are more correct. We think about the fact that having data, using it correctly, can then enable AI. You can't do a lot with AI unless you have the data sorted. And then we think about the benefits of having that data and AI culture, what the performance improvement should be for your organization. I love this quote, and if you're taking pictures today, I'll encourage you to take this one. Data and AI culture is a shared values, attitudes, behaviors. See those softer skill kind of words? That enable organizations to make data-driven decisions and reinvent processes and products with AI. So let me share a little bit more detail on that. Now that you know what a data and AI culture is, why is it so important? Why does it matter? We think about, and we hear about it all the time, that a data and AI-driven organization tends to have much better performance. And some of the data here that we share proves that. That's our intention today. So 7 times more likely to retain customers. Who wouldn't love that? 3 times more likely to achieve double-digit growth. No one's going to complain about that. And then 80% of employees who use AI tools report that they're much more productive. Again, thinking about all the benefits of that. We think about what a data culture and data and AI culture is, and also why it's important. I'll pass it to you, Mel.
Thanks, Catherine. Before we continue, just wanted to actually see who's in the room. So do we have any practitioners, data practitioners in the room? Great. Any business leaders? Yeah. Analysts?
Good, good.
Okay, so it's a great mix.
Yeah, and maybe executives, leaders, yeah.
Yeah.
Good, good
awesome.
mix.
So we're going to try and focus on your different areas of the business, and by no means do we proclaim that we know it all, but this is what we've learned from our customers across the globe and what we've implemented with our customers. So very excited to hear more from you at the end, or link up with us on LinkedIn so that we can hear your perspectives and views, what's happening in your business. So Catherine, you talk about the fact that the people are standing in the way, right, of building a data and AI culture. But actually, there's a bigger problem. We're seeing a lot of companies focus on AI culture. There's this drive towards a big AI culture, but it outpaces the data infrastructure maturity. So not only is the challenge that there's a people thing, but it's bigger than that. And when we look at infrastructure talent crisis, we find that a lot of organizations, because of this AI focus on culture, is more focused on data scientists than on data engineers. LinkedIn has proved it as well with their research that they've done. They say 2.5 people, data engineers for a role versus 4.76 data scientists. So you'll find that many organizations wanting to get more data scientists hired than focusing on the data engineers, whilst actually, if you don't get your foundation right and have that data engineering focus right, you end up with a lot of data janitors and people spending about plus 60% of their time focusing on data and the fixing up of the data instead of on the model innovation. So that's why at Databricks we speak about a data and AI culture, because that's what makes it work for you, is getting that part first. And it might sound like the boring part, but that's the most critical part to get right before you start to focus on the AI component. And then there's always the foundation fallacy of making sure that your infrastructure is totally in place and right before you move forward. And actually, I just saw Kay from one of our amazing customers in Hong Kong. We had an incredible conversation earlier on today, and I was amazed to hear how they're focusing first on getting the data right, democratizing the data, before they want to sprint towards getting the AI culture sorted. So that's something that we find more and more organizations flip around, and it doesn't help. So let's move to the next slide, Catherine. I'm glad to see that you're the clicker today.
You know, important jobs.
So we have this model that we focus on in particular when we talk about a data and AI culture. And we're going to try to give you real practical tools today. Within this, I'll also talk about the data bridge tool that we've designed and come up with, and we'll share a little bit more about that too. But access, really focusing on assessing your current and desired future state is where we're going to double click on first. What I urge you to do, because you're spending your time in this session today, really think deep when Catherine takes you through that part, where you're at, and you'll also find that you might have even different departments within your business at different maturity levels. So it will be really interesting for you to just reflect where you're at. Buyin, we're going to spend quite a bit of time there, especially on the silo bridging capability. Building, a lot of organizations think that building a data and AI culture is training and enablement. So let's quickly send everyone to the Data and AI Summit. We've done our bit and then we're done. That's not building a data and AI culture. And then managing and sponsoring a program. So let's dive in.
Brilliant. So thinking about this being a journey, and I appreciate, Mel, that you called out, like, attending an event like this or a training event is not the only thing that you need to do. It definitely is a step in the right direction, and we're all so grateful that you're here, but it is a journey, and rightly so. So thinking about your current and your desired future states, I really love this build out so that we can figure out the different parts of your organization that you have to think about, the hard stuff, the soft stuff, the soft skills, I think they're harder, but anyway. And we'll kind of give you a little bit more guidance here. So on this scale here, you can see data aware over on the left-hand side, all the way through data enabled, data savvy, and then all the way to data and AI native. And we're going to break it down into some different categories here. So starting off at the top, leadership. We need leadership to be committed and supportive of data and AI culture. It is really difficult for an individual to keep putting their head above water, or keep putting their hand up and saying, I'm going to be the champion for this data and AI organization or the culture within our organization. And the reality is it has to be both bottoms up and tops down. So here, if we think of, on the left-hand side, a data-aware organization with the leadership category, if you're missing that commitment, it'll be challenging. Moving all the way over to the right, we have everyone being a champion of data and AI vision, and that is a really ideal state to be in. We'll get there, and we'll talk you through some of the things to help with how you consider that. Thinking about collaboration, again, true data and AI culture is that sentiment of being collaborative. So I know, Mel, you're going to talk to us a little bit around the silos. So thinking about teams working in silos and how perhaps that's limited capability there. And then to the right-hand side on the data and AI native piece, how those cross-organization collaboration really have that maximum impact. Thinking of capabilities, and it would be remiss of us in a learning or from a learning and development organization within Databricks to not think that this is a really important one. It's not the only thing for sure, so we try to balance that out. But thinking about, assessing your teams, how skilled are they, and then thinking about over the other side of the loop here around everybody upskilling and reskilling. I think the reskilling is a thing that also we tend to forget about. We did this training, therefore we're calling it done, but actually the reskilling is really important as well. Then we think of scope within your organization, and you're thinking about a data and AI culture within your organization. Is it just onesie-twosie kind of projects versus every project has a data and AI element to it? And again, there's a spectrum along the way, okay? And then last but not least here on this one, outcomes. Do we use data only for reporting? And then, as I say, the other side of that, to the right-hand side, thinking about it actually impacting your processes and indeed your products. That's the ideal scenario to be in for sure. Again, in the spirit of this being a journey, I thought this was a really useful visual so that you can get through this, as I say, this journey. When we're all the way over on the left in all of those 5 categories, we can call them sleepers. We can come up with a different word. We can talk about that afterwards. But folks who are perhaps not as engaged as we need them to be in order to consider a data and AI organization. So everybody's all under those 5 categories are all on the left-hand side. Then we can move on to being considered aware. Then further on to the right, being enabled, savvy, and then the data and AI native piece of it. So really seeing each of those categories moving along this path, and ultimately the majority of them over on the right-hand side. So I think that's just a useful archetype as you think about where you are and considering your assessment of your own data and AI culture.
I'd maybe love to see from the audience, whom of you are totally on the right and totally native in driving a data and AI culture?
Right.
Not yet.
And notice you and I did not have our hands up either.
No.
We're working on it.
Not. 100% not.
Yeah.
I've seen, Catherine, where this can also go terribly wrong, where there was a customer who had an incredible leader, visionary, absolutely amazing. They had all the buy-in from the different areas, and they thought they were around this savvy space until he left the business and it fell flat. So cannot overemphasize the importance of having that leadership buy-in throughout the business. Just seeing it happening so many times.
Yeah. And it is really valuable to have that advocate for sure, but it has to be more than one person for it to turn into a true culture change. Then thinking of buy-in, speaking of it, we want to think about this scale here around buy-in versus capability. We talked about the buy-in before, and we talked about the capability, but again, thought this was a useful way of thinking about it. In the bottom corner, we call it inefficient. Again, we can discuss the nomenclature later. But where you don't have buy-in, nor do you have the capability, people tend to be really inefficient. If you have buy-in, but limited capability, people get frustrated. If you get lots of capability, but limited buy-in, people get indifferent. And then the true Goldilocks spot here is maximum buy-in, maximum capability, where we're all truly inspired and following that vision. And I think it really does come down to making sure that everybody is bought in. And this isn't just Mel, do you want to join me on my data and AI culture? We do that all the time, though. But it really is thinking about your teams. I'm working on a data and AI vision. What will that look like? Can you collaborate with me on figuring out what that looks like? Will you join me in this journey? And then you communicate, and you win over those folks who perhaps were not advocates until they become advocates. So keep working on the buy-in there. I'm going to move on here around collaboration. Again, that comes to what we just mentioned about the buy-in. Mal, you're going to talk about removing silos in a little bit, which is a really important part of a successful data and AI culture for sure. It really does come down to increasing that cross-collaboration. And it seems so, I suppose, obvious. But as you said, Mal, we see it all the time, whether organizations are structured purely by hierarchy. Only these people within my hierarchy can avail of this. Or only these people within my budget that I'm responsible for can avail of this. We see it all the time. We understand how complicated businesses can be. But really, it is worth thinking about. If you're truly going to change a culture of a company, and indeed a data and AI culture, then you need to have that cross-functional ability. Balanced priorities. Everybody's talking about data and AI. That's why we're here. But also, when you're thinking about projects within your organization, you do want to have those quick wins. Really prioritize some of those easy to accomplish goals so that you get that buy-in again. And that can be really satisfying. And then you get that momentum to bring you to the next level. And then last but not least here around earning trust. You do want to make sure it's not just, Mel, I think this is a great idea. I think we should go along this journey together. It really is with a combination of building that collaboration, building that, getting those quick wins on some of those priorities and moving on to earning trust. So with that, tell us about silos, Mel.
Thank you, Catherine. Now, I had this conversation with one of the customers over lunch as well, just literally now. And I ran out of paper for my previous customer who we spoke with, so I had to do a napkin on the back of a napkin. So
literally on the back of a napkin.
Literally the back of a napkin. Okay. Just so you know, all disclaimer, we don't have speaker notes, so this is actually very useful at the moment. But what we find, and I'm sure you're recognizing where you are at within the business here, is businesses tend to spend most time on the technology focus instead of focusing on processes and people. And that's where the data and AI culture drive falls flat, is when you don't focus on that part. Now, I've decided I'll take all of the top change management models, and the moment you hear change management, you click out, or I do, say, oh my word, here comes some of our consulting companies, or here we go again. But we tend to not focus enough on that. So I've taken that, and then I've taken what we need for an AI transformation, and I've bundled that together for you in an acronym called Databricks. So think of data as the foundation, and then the bridge as the transition. And when we look at the D, we focus on demonstrate urgency. So you want to use data, competitive data that you have, to show the cost of not having a data and AI-driven approach in your business at the moment. You want to quantify the missed opportunities. So make it really real and drive that sense of urgency home. The A is assemble ambassadors, champions. And again, we find that most organizations have a champion in certain pockets. Literally yesterday, I spoke with a very, very big customer of ours who is across Asia Pacific, and they told me they have 6 different areas now. They don't know it, but 6 different areas spoke with us about wanting to do AI and data training. Enablement, because that's what they thought the only focus is on driving a data and AI culture. And they said, please do not tell the others because we want to use our budget just for us. And then do not let the gremlins out. We don't want the business users to be enabled. Leave them alone because we want to make sure we focus on what we want to enable. And those are the type of questions we get from the customers. So get your champions across your entire business in all the different areas. Target quick wins. Catherine already spoke about that. Make sure we get a quick win on the board because that you're going to use for the next level, and articulate your vision extremely clearly. You need to have a vision of what a data and AI-driven culture is going to mean for your business, not what we're thinking a data and AI culture is. I see it even in our own business, and I'll talk a little bit about how we're drinking our own champagne. But then we talk about bridge. So now we're going into the real meat of it, build capability. A lot of businesses focus on that too late, and they usually are driven by the alliances, which you can see there on the left. So they would have vendors come in and quickly do training. So say, let's do AI literacy. I was with Amazon Web Services before I joined Databricks, and I had a lot of customers saying to me, Mel, we've seen you drive loads of women programs. Come train thousands of women for us. We want thousands of women trained in AI. And then we want to do it, we want a big blast in the media. And then, that's great. Then we've trained people. And what you find is that those people usually do not have access to data sets, and they do not have access to a project. So it's great. We all need diversity, but the why is super critical. Make sure you have that why right in when you train and enable those people. So that is a critical component in building the capability and then looking at the different tiers. So that's why we focus on the role-based capability. Then we focus on R, remove barriers. There's a lot of bureaucratic ways of looking at how we have the data and give the access to the data. So have that democratized data approach, and it's scary, I know, but if you don't have that and you don't give the right access, and one of the customers, we spoke about this as data dating. So you don't know what data is within the marketing division. You don't know what data is within operations or within the freight area. So make sure you create that space so that people can start to experiment and understand what data is available and how we can innovate with it. The I is integrate into your processes. Got to start looking then into how you integrate it, even in job descriptions. So in my own business, I had internal enablement people, and now we've started to use way more AI-based role play for internal enablement, because people just don't have time to skill themselves up. We have a joke in Databricks that if you've gone on leave for 2 weeks, you're totally outdated. And it's really true. So how do you keep your internal people updated all the time? So we started to use more AI role play. but with that comes a whole spectrum of other stuff around ethics of when are we allowed to push that through to people and when not. How are the enablement people able to use the AI tools to feed input in? So now I'm looking at total different skills for internal enablement. Then very quickly, the D is for develop confidence. So your success stories. Does your internal team understand how to drive the stories and push that through? The G is generate momentum, and the E is embed and sustain. So does your board report, do you have your board on board? Does your board report have the projects listed there? Are you, because they are at the end liable for your data and your AI strategy, and I've seen that more as I worked with boards in Australia. It is super critical that you understand what that board's liability is and how you present that back. Happy to talk with you more about that if you want to at some stage, but getting the board there and embedding it so that they're equipped is beyond critical. It's no longer there. It's here.
Yeah.
So, Catherine, that's sort of the data bridge that we focused on. Very quickly, moving just on to the building the capability. I think I've covered quite a bit, but if we could just go to the focus here, and I would love to double click because you're running the community globally, so I'd love to click on that one. But typically, we see customers focus predominantly in the left bottom corner. What they do there is they train the technologists further. They train their data scientists, their engineers more. Instead of saying, how are we going to go across the board? And how are we going to focus on that continuous learning and the experiment-based learning, but give the projects to support it? So that's what we're seeing, but I'd love to hear from you on the community piece and what you're picking up there.
Yeah, there's a couple here that I'd love to dig in a little bit further on. But community, yes, I do have the privilege of being responsible for the Databricks community. Don't forget to check us out in the Expo Hall. But also, you know, having run a community for a while, we can see some direct connection between brand awareness and loyalty when folks are actively using our community. It's one thing to get people to your community and making sure that you're providing the utility that that user needs, and then it's a whole other thing to be able to keep those folks engaged and indeed active in the community. So we think about that a lot. The other piece of community, though, that I know we're mindful of, and it bleeds up into the continuous piece as well, is that as part of our learning programs, we do create these cohorts and communities related to those cohorts. So myself and Mel started training on, you know, next Monday morning, and for 4 weeks out, then we're with this cohort. We have that engagement with that cohort. Gee, did you get stuck on that lab? I did. How did you move on? So building those communities really does help. Through the cohort-based learning that we're running, we're seeing amazing completion rates for anybody in the learning and development space, whether it be internal, external, or indeed partner enablement space. To have 80+% completion rates is almost unheard of. We're here. And it really does come down to having that relationship with your, helping that relationship with your cohorts to make them feel really part of something. So those are the two things that I was going to touch on there, Mel. What else did we have?
On the AI tutor, I want to double click on that. So we have had a challenge, because in particular in Japan, Korea, well, not so much Korea, but Japan, we really need language capability, Thailand, etc. And it takes time, even though you have large language models that we're starting to use more and more of. But with some of these tutors that we've started to use and the role plays, immediately we have the language capability that goes with it. And that is just making a massive difference in scaling our international focus. But Catherine, we also started to incorporate more of the AI capabilities in our customer component. Did you want to touch on that aspect? Because I know what I find customers, especially some customers in India, are telling me is with all the global capability centers, because we are making a lot more training available to our global capability centers, they are saying to me, we do not want to certify our people because they will leave, which is sadly, what if they stay and you have not trained them and they have not certified? That's a bigger problem to have. Yeah. But with the AI tutor, we have the ability with the role play that people can assess if they've done if the information is really stuck. Yeah. So there's all other type of capabilities that you can build in and that we've started to use from our side. So any thoughts from your side or?
Yeah, part of our organization in learning and enablement is trying to be operationally efficient. We do have a lot of you wanting to get trained, wanting to get your teams trained, and we're very grateful for that. But we also need to make sure that we're paying for our own lunch. And so we think about how do we make sure we can maximize the learner experience while also maximizing the amount of folks that we can include in a training class. And so we've been playing with a great partner of ours with regards to having an AI tutor whereby we will have an instructor on a virtual instructor-led training call, and we'll have up to 1,000 people attend that call. And when people, the cohort, are part of the community and they're asking questions as the instructor is going through, we have trained an AI tutor to be able to answer those questions. So not to distract the instructor from getting on with the content, not to distract the other 999 folks from, I have a question. And it really has been phenomenal with allowing us to scale, especially in geos where scale just has a really big 100%. Impact on us.
100%. Let's quickly click on the next one, and we're drawing to a close very soon. So if you could maybe build this out for me, Catherine. It's so great that you're in control of the driving today. So we focus on, when we talk about sponsor and manage the data and AI culture, I really want to double click on measuring success. We can easily measure what the dashboards and the technology does for us. Very difficult to measure culture. How do you measure culture? So there are a few techniques that you can start to use, like just the pure basics of understanding how people operate within meetings. Are they asking data-driven questions? So again, it's not all about enablement. Yeah. Interviews. I am still gobsmacked, and in the previous company I've been in, you had to be data-driven, otherwise you're out of the door. But with the interviews we're doing, how few people can have data-driven conversations. So having that data-driven mindset from the outset and how you measure that is absolutely critical. There are quite a few techniques that I'm happy to share at some stage if anyone's interested in hearing. But I want to quickly focus on the upskilling and reskilling with the future workforce focus. Yeah. I know you're very passionate about that one.
Yeah, so here at Databricks, we do have the privilege of having a university alliance. To date, we have about 1,200 universities across the globe as part of our university alliance. And what that means, typically two things. One is that those professors or that faculty are using Databricks as part of their curriculum in order to teach what they have on their curriculum. And the other part is where we have relationships with universities who actually can use our content as part of their curriculum. So this is a growing thing for us for sure. And it really is making sure that we're thinking about the future workforce. We're all professionals here and we're all grateful for that as well. But we have to have successors. We need to build up that pipeline of folks. There's a really interesting data point that tells us, I think it's a LinkedIn review that tells us that 62% of CEOs say that talent pipeline is one of their biggest challenges. We need to help with that. And so that's going towards that for sure. The other one though, Mel, that I'd love to give a call out on is just 1 o'clock today or 10 past 1 today, one of our customers, JLL, if you're here, Chris, well done, you did a great presentation. Chris did a presentation about the learning culture as part of their data and AI culture at JLL. And he talked about gamifying their learning and really having that intrinsic as well as extrinsic motivation. So the intrinsic is where people just want to do it because they're going to be better as a result of it. And the extrinsic, he talked about, we give them t-shirts, a little bit of swag, a little bit of opportunity to share that information a little bit more broadly. So love that. And then I think the other one I was going to comment on was around, I suppose, generally upskilling and reskilling. Tomorrow, 3 o'clock, another one of our customers, 8451. I don't know if you're here, Rico. Looking forward to your session tomorrow, whereby Rico's going to tell us a story again about 8451 is the data area of Kroger, which is a major supermarket here in the US, retailer here in the US. And he's going to tell you about some of the really foundational things and data-driven results that they've seen from having a really influential learning culture, again, as part of their data and AI culture. So 3 o'clock tomorrow, room 158, you'll see 8451 on stage.
I think the most important part is, and I saw this again with one of our customers in Australia, to manage your data and AI culture as a project, as a proper program. Do not fall in the trap of using a top talent person on the side. Is it something I said? Everyone's leaving.
No. We're between now and happy hour. We'll be okay.
So do not do that. Make sure you have the right people to drive this as a program. Yeah. Catherine, let's take it home.
I think this is just an opportunity for you to think about or to get visibility into how we think about our training organization. We do recognize there are executives and leaders that are really important. We talked about all the buy-in that we need from them and advocacy. We talked about the business users. The reality is that there are many more business users in this world than indeed the hands-on keyboard folks. And so we definitely want to bring them along on the journey. And then last but by no means least, the technical users. How do we make sure that they are empowered as well? And just as I think about the formats that we create training in, the types of content that we create, from the most fundamental to the most advanced, we have a multitude. So just to give you a sense of how we're intending to empower you all, and it is an iterative process. We are changing this constantly. Anything else, Mel?
No, awesome. I think we have one more to go to just finalize.
So next steps, we'd love to see you all down in the Learning Hub in the Databricks zone in the Expo Hall here in Moscone South. So we have a talent development space where you can get an assessment on the spot with your organization, give you a sense of how mature from a capability perspective your organization is. So please feel free to go there. We also have the certification lounge. For those of you that are certified, you can go there with pride, have a nice space to relax, and indeed don't forget to pick up your very cool jacket. Those are worth a lot of money on the black market, so please avail of that. And then community zone as well, so please go down there, engage with our community, be present, and we'd love that engagement. Do you want to go through the next, Mel?
That's it. I think we're there. I really hope you'll be able to build a data bridge for your business. If anyone wants my napkin, you're welcome. And thank you so much for spending time with us today on driving and data.
The last thing I'll say, though, Mel, is that we do have hands-on labs over on the Marriott Marquis Hotel. So if you haven't already had the opportunity to do some hands-on labs, please make your way over there. They are free. We also have some trainings over there that you can book yourself into, register and pay for. So they go all the way through Thursday. And then if you are wondering about our content, please check us out, Databricks Training on Google. And last but not least, again, 8451 is presenting tomorrow at 3 p.m. Don't forget to show up.
Thank you,
everybody.
Thanks.